I'm a wellbeing consultant at the university and I work within the Wellbeing Service. At the Wellbeing Service we have a range of different staff that support students, all who have some kind of professional training in their speciality, if you like. So some examples of that, we have counselling staff who are all trained counsellors or psychotherapists. We have cognitive behavioural therapists who have a training either in mental health and then perhaps cognitive behavioural therapy. And we also then have mental health staff who will have a specific training in mental health, including things like mental health nursing or occupational therapy. We support students experiencing emotional, psychological and mental health difficulties. So that might include someone who is experiencing some homesickness, or someone perhaps has experienced a life event such as a bereavement. But it may also include someone who's experiencing a mental health difficulty, and that might include anything from someone experiencing depression, anxiety, an eating difficulty, some form of psychosis or bipolar disorder, things like OCD, which is obsessional compulsive disorder, or something like post-traumatic stress disorder. If you were to come to the Wellbeing Service, what would happen is that you would come and see one of our wellbeing consultants and you'd have an initial meeting. And in that session, we would think with you about how your health is impacting, what is happening in relation to that health difficulty or depression, how that affects your life, and also how that is affecting your ability to study and be at university. The support that they may be entitled to are things like an individual learning plan, and what that is a formal communication to their college that lets the college know they're experiencing a health issue. And it may also make recommendations of support from the college to enable the student to study more effectively. The other things the students are entitled to are maybe exam adjustment. So we'd think with the student, would something like their depression, does that affect their ability to study or revise for their exams, to study and take the exams? And then we may think about what adjustments might be helpful. We also think about whether they'd be entitled to something called the Disabled Students Allowance, which is a pot of money that sits with Student Finance England to ensure that students with mental health difficulties are on an even playing field compared to students who or are on an even playing field with students who don't have any health issues at all. And as part of that Disabled Students Allowance, they may be entitled to something called mental health mentoring, which is regular support that helps them, again, manage the impact of their depression or mental health difficulty while studying at university. So we offer a wellbeing service to students, and for some students that's quite difficult for them to come to us because they're worried about perhaps how their difficulty or the problem they're experiencing right now might be interpreted, how people might judge that, or whether for some people they may feel there's a stigma attached to their difficulty, particularly if it's something like a mental health difficulty. But the main thing for the students to know is that if they come and see us, what they talk to us about will be held in confidence. What I'd also like to say is I'd really encourage students to access our service kind of as soon as possible, because the research shows is if students get support quickly, there's going to be a much better outcome for them, how they're coping with their life at university and their course.